Sure, we do the responsible things. I mean, that's good. We can be responsible adults, but that doesn't mean we can't have joy like we did when we were kids. So we must make sure that we factor that into our plans. We must remind ourselves what it was like to be a kid. Recently, I remember laughing. I mean, I actually laughed until there was tears coming down, my face, and my head hurt from laughing as hard. And I said to the missus, I says, I don't think I've laughed like that since I was probably, 10 or 11 years old, because it felt really, really good. I remember doing one of the episodes in the podcast about the 20 habits of successful people, and I think number 11, maybe. I'll need to double check what it was, but number 11 was, make sure you have a hearty laugh every day. And tellingly, what Napoleon Hill had said in that video that was done brilliantly by After School, you should definitely check them out. Their videos are outstanding. I'm a big, big fan of the guys over there. And he done a great video detailing Napoleon Hill's 20 habits of the successful people. And even Napoleon Hill says, make sure that you maybe do this out of view of others when you go and have a hearty laugh, because they might find this activity strange. Isn't that bizarre? You're having a good hearty laugh and others might find that strange. And that comes back to what we were asking here. When did we forget? When did we forget how important it was to have that joy? When did society shape us into, hey, you shouldn't laugh? Was it in school? Was it in high school? Is it that sort of need to fit in, that you don't want to do anything that stands out? I was talking to Dale before we came on, and he mentioned about something that the class were given an option, a high school class were given the option to do either dance in front of the class for 15 seconds or do a 15,000 word essay, and 40% of the class decided to do the essay instead of dancing. That's how fearful they were of dancing in front of a crowd. How bizarre is that? Where only a few years ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, if Suat with his DJ equipment was wandering by, they'd have danced on the spot, happy as Larry. And you wonder when we lost that. And you think to yourself, maybe it was high school, maybe you get to high school and you want to fit in, you don't want to stand out, you don't want to be slagged or be a target for bullies, or you just want to fit in. It's going to be easier if you fit in. Don't stand out. So you don't dance, and you lose the things that you found joy in because you shut off your instincts to the joyfulness. And then you go through high school, which is tricky because you're going through the changes of life. You're becoming, an adult. So it's not the easiest time. You're starting to figure yourself out. The development of your personality and your characteristics. Tricky time. So yeah, it's difficult not to stand out. And then you get into the work life, and then you have all these things that you need to learn, and financial and bills, and you need to bring in money, and it can be tricky. And you learn to drive and so on. And you just think there must be a detachment at some point where we get caught up in not finding the joy. And even personally myself, I remember when I started cycling, and it took me off guard, because I went out cycling. I was absolutely terrible at it when I started. I mean, I couldn't cycle around, my friend calls his loop the block. It's about 4 miles. And I got halfway around and was just absolutely blowing my doors off. Really, really, really a big lack of fitness. And I thought, this is terrible. I thought it'd be much better than this, because I used to go out and ride my bike when I was a kid, and I was good at it. I loved being out on my bike. I loved the fresh air. I loved the wind in my face. I loved the freedom of just being on a bike and pulling a sweet wheelie and, skidding the back wheel, finding a can, sticking it in the back wheel and hearing it rasp away. Just being a boy outside in the sunshine, having a great time, riding down the side of the railway tracks, having fun. And then years later, here I am, can't cycle round the block. Lockdowns have happened, and now I'm back on a bike, and 2 miles in, I'm blowing a gasket. But I persevered, because perseverance, remember, number 4 in the list from last week is resilience. So be resilient. So I stuck in and I got good on the bike. Something happened. I initially got on the bike because I wanted to get in shape. The weather was good during lockdowns and barbecues were abundant and it was great weather. So the gyms were closed, food aplenty. I was nearly ready to be put on a flight to Japan with a sumo gear and sent there to wrestle. Just as well the flights were cancelled because you may have found me a big hit in the Japanese sumo wrestling scene. So that was how I started cycling. And when I started cycling, I initially done it to get into shape. And I wanted to get into better shape. So this is what started it, but I didn't find the love just from getting into shape because the gyms are closed. What I found the love for later on was how good it was to be out in fresh air, how good it was to be outside. What did it remind me of? It reminded me of what it was like when I was a boy. The moving under your own steam, the freedom, the seeing all the different places, the challenge of it, the hey look, let me cycle out to this place and then buy myself a drink of juice and a bar of chocolate. The thrill of being outside. And that was probably amplified because lockdown was there. And then improving. I was getting better. I was shedding the years off. I was finding the joy. And that joy reminded me of what it was like when I was a kid. And I thought, this is what we're supposed to do. It's great to do all the success stuff. But it's also, we need to remember why. And we need to add that happiness into our plan.